one of the things that the Republicans are dealing with is that their huge bill, which again cuts billions off of Medicaid, billions off of SNAP, billions off of Medicare, cuts billions from tax credits to encourage people to adopt things like solar and geothermal and et cetera. Not only does it do all those bad things, it also raises the deficit, which supposedly Republicans care about. And their accounting, when they claim the baseline is not when the tax cuts expire, but rather while they're in effect, is also another way of hiding the deficit problems this creates. Now, this is a big deal for them. And Scott Besson, though, has an answer to this. It is, well, we don't believe in math.
You mentioned economic growth in your comment there. This bill adds trillions to our debt. How is that acceptable to this administration?
Well, again, you're referring to the CBO scoring, I believe, which is tenure scoring, and it's DC style scoring. So we think that we can both grow the economy and control the debt. And what's important, Bill, is that the economy grows faster than the debt. So what I would tell your viewers to focus on is what I'm focused on, is what Secretary Yellen was focused on, is what is the total debt to GDP? Because we can grow our way out of this. That if we change the growth trajectory of the country, of the economy, then we will stabilize our finances and grow our way out of this.
Okay, now this theory that you can grow yourself out of debt is true. And what happens is that the economy grows and more people are making more money and revenues increase. But the thing that can offset that is if you cut the amount that they're supposed to pay in taxes. Now, there was this state called Kansas that did an experiment based upon the Laffer curve. In fact, they actually brought Arthur Laffer in. The Laffer curve is the graph that shows that the theory that if you raise taxes, the amount of revenue that people earn goes down, because they're like, well, if I make over $500,000 a year, then all of a sudden I go from like a 28% tax bracket to a 32% tax bracket. And because I'm not making that extra 4%, it's not worth it for me to work that hard.
Right.
First of all, people who start making millions of dollars a year and try and make more, never mind billionaires, they have no sense of money. They have no sense. They're on some type of relentless pursuit of making more and more numbers. It's not a question of like how much money they get to get in there. They're just in competition with somebody else. And the bottom line is that the Laffer curve, they tried it in Kansas. They got rid of a lot of individual taxes. They allowed people to become corporations. They lowered taxes with the idea that this is going to create an economic boon, and we're actually going to get more in revenue because by lowering taxes, we've encouraged economic activity so much so we're stimulating the economy so much that we're going to get massive tax gains. And I can tell you that what ultimately happened was it took about 2 or 3 years for the Republican Congress, House and State House to raise taxes again because they destroyed their economy in Kansas.
Do you know when you search Laffer curve Kansas, one of the top results is you on Valuetainment as posted by Valuetainment?
Oh, that was very helpful of them. Thank you, Valuetainment. I feel very, very valuetained. Ronald Reagan brought in Arthur Laffer. And you know the Laffer curve.
Yes, of course.
The Laffer curve says that the higher you go up on taxes, the least incentive there is for people to make money.
Or to try harder or
to earn more and work harder and stay late and be an entrepreneur and try to build something. Go on.
But the lower you have taxes, you can actually lower taxes and you'll get more revenue because these people are going to actually be more incentivized because they get to keep more. Arthur Laffer was the key advisor to Sam Brownback when he became governor of Kansas in 2012. You can look this up. People just have to Google Sam Brownback, Kansas, 2012. What happened with the great Kansas experiment? He did exactly what Arthur Laffer said. He slashed taxes for S corps, etc. Within, I think it was 2 or 3 years, the Republican legislature rose taxes because revenues had cratered so badly and they had so destroyed what was once the jewel of Kansas, their education system, their higher education system. They rose taxes. Ronald Reagan brought in. Yep. That was very nice of them to do that.
I know.
Extremely frenetic editing.
It's a little frenetic, the editing, but I appreciate the opportunity. That is fantastic of them. I send them a muffin basket.
Got an autopilot over there.
I wonder who, like, if there are people there working, they're going like, we're going to put this out. And clearly, Patrick Bet-David does not like check their social media. I mean, I got to be fair. Like, I don't see what we've clipped from this show either. For all we know, Dorsey could be putting out like all just these, you know,
Ezra Klein
just a few times he answered a question. Pretty amazing.
Let me finish, Sam, and you just clip that.
Right.
But Basant there is arguing that nobody's like, there's not dynamic scoring, what they call dynamic scoring, which is they have an idea in their head that the economy is going to grow so much from all the work that we're doing here that the tax cuts are going to pay for themselves.
Yes. Oh, where have I heard that before?
I don't think so. A little bit convenient for all the people with the money already.
Yeah, you know what's really funny is that all of those right-wing Republicans apparently don't believe it. They just are capitulating to Trump because he says he's going to primary them. But it's weird. You know, we'll wait till like next week to talk about the Trump accounts. There's just a short, briefly, putting in this bill, it calls for a universal providing kids born from 25 to 29, $1,000 in an account. And then this money can only be used for a down payment on a house or starting a business and maybe some education purposes, limited ones. Now, understand it goes into the stock market. And it functions like any other, like, you know, like an IRA might, or like a 529, or you can also add $5,000 yourself if you want. Now, I hope it's becoming clear what this is. The idea that someone who saves $1,000 and may be coming from the low end of the income distribution, in other words, like the vast majority of Americans, is going to have enough to add to a down payment at one point for their money is rather slim. If you get to put $5,000 in for a couple of years, in other words, you're a wealthy family, and it gets to accrue there, it's just another tax-free savings for you.
Yeah.
It really is a scam. I love the fact, though, that this is universal. It's the one universal problem that they like. Wait, what about means testing? No, in fact, not only are we not going to means test, we're actually, if you have more money, we're going to make this option even more available to you by putting money into it. Tax free.
Well, isn't it a bit of an extension too of like the 401k logic, because that's more money that's going into the stock market.
It's helpful for the stock market, but it's really basically an extended 529, which is really only available to wealthy people.
Yeah.
It exists for everybody, but it's really only available to wealthy people who have the money to put away and then end up using it. Now they're going to expand the use of that. They use it for private schools or colleges or whatnot. This is a massive redistribution of wealth upwards. Period. End of story.
Absolutely.
Every single budget, every single government redistributes wealth. Every single one. The question is, which direction does it go? And how much of the money that exists as it gets redistributed is a function of communal society investing in itself to offer these opportunities for people to make more money. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.